Okay. Okay, we're back. We got the oil tank in here. I dragged it in. I had tried doing it by hand. I couldn't do it. Had to use a four-wheeler. So I want a tailgate on this. This is going to be the back end. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to put a mark. Like that. Now, you're going to say, well, that's crooked. It won't care. All it's going to care about is that it matches. I'm going to lose stuff out it, I know, but gravel should not fall through it. So the idea is to take these strap hinges that I have, I'm going to space them evenly. I'm going to weld like that on here, get a good weld, get it tacked, get this up, get it welded, and get it welded along in here. Before I can do that though, I have to cut across where the hinge is going to go. I'm going to leave the sides intact because I don't know where I'm going to make the tailgate. I'm only going to make a half a tailgate or not, because when this thing tips, I want the tailgate to just touch the ground at my highest point, because I just want to keep the majority of the dirt in, and I don't want the dirt piling on the tailgate. That's the one problem with that AgriBox, that when you dump it, there's no tailgate, so that back edge is angled and it goes parallel with the ground. Well, you got a big pile of dirt on it, so you have to hand shovel everything. There's no happy medium unless you were dumping in a hole or off a cliff, right? So we need to find center as well. So, this is the part that kills me. We got 44, 45, and 1/2. We'll take square off the floor. It should be close enough for a dump box, if you know what I mean. Now, I am 11 5/8 off that weld. Eleven 5/8 off the weld. Magnetic trailer lights. You see what I'm doing? I'm going to use the let's hang that down over the side. The magnet caught it. There. Reference line. You saw what I did there? I used the magnet on the light to hold the chalk line, because I could not find my weight. I got a steel block I use for stuff like that. It's heavy. Now, just going to put a few reference marks down that chalk line. because chalk will not last on the steel. Okay. So give or take right there. So I want to cut to there, and I want to cut to there. And you're going to ask me, why am I doing this first? The reason I'm doing this first is to locate that. Because I might, like I said, I still don't know how I'm going to fasten my axle yet. Because my axle is square. So I can weld a couple of spacer blocks. But can I? We need the whole thing to rotate on that axle, right? See, the other axle was round, and it pivoted. Like I said, I got some figuring to do. I do know I got to do that once I find the location for this, because we need the height off the ground. See, that'll still put me, the center of axle, it's going to put me roughly 33 inches or so, 33, and I'm thinking the sides on this are a little bigger. Probably might be a little bit taller, but the excavator, I'll show you when I go to load it. This will take more abuse from the excavator than that one did, right? And then of course this has to line up on that chalk line, which is there, like that, and then I square it, and then I can weld and weld. I may have to bolt it to get it tight and then weld it. I don't know. I don't like bolting it, but I can see right now there's a divot in here. Now if I weld that first and then push down on this end, it might pop it up. Don't know. We'll find out. But if I use that tongue, you still have to have it pivot on the axle. So, and the axle, axle's like that. So it can't really pivot on that axle if I welded that to it. I did get some square tube, and I got some angle iron. Now I was gonna take the angle iron and weld it to make a pivot point, but that don't look like it's going to work the way I figured. So before I cut weld anything, let's get a better idea what's going on. So let's go here to there, 55 3/4. See, I figured I would have the box pivot off the axle, and I had a plan, and then I changed my plan, and I'm adding that piece in. So realistically, I would need, if I added stuff to this here up and made it so it would say it was in two pieces, and then I could go around the axle from either side. But then this axle doesn't pivot. This roll, like the wheel rolls on the axle. So technically it could be solid as long as the box tilted. So if we welded the tongue, ooh, that's too big. I got a smaller pin, just for temporary. Okay, that'll hold it temporary, right? So that was like that. That pulls, that makes the box tilt. So then we got to get, okay, so if this was fixed to there, that was welded solid, right? Say that's welded solid. And then the whole thing pivots. That's solid, and this pivots. Will that work? It should, because this is not fixed. They would maintain contact to the ground. And as long as that goes up, you get that much out of it. How much tip is that? There'd be the other thing. How much tip is that? There we go. Two feet of tip. Okay, there's one for you. Well, I ran the axle through here. What would that do? Because I could still grind this around corners, so it would pivot. That would get this solid to the axle. You know what? Let's get a couple of clamps. I'll grab a couple of clamps. We'll see if I can make that kind of mock it up. See, it's all friggin' learning curve, right? Because that tongue, the only problem is this tongue is pretty tight. Pretty tight. That would make my turning radius is the only thing. So again, I get it. I may have to make an extension or something. I don't know. Sorry, folks. This is my thought process. Come up with an idea and then try to implement it. It's also not thinking things far enough ahead. You go with the concept, right? So if that's like that, like I can always take this shaft and cut it to whatever length I need to go through here. If I do that, that makes this axle fixed to this like I need. These still turn, right? So, and if this pivots on that, it should tip. And if it don't, I'm going to have to come up with a new idea. But, and I think if I round the end of this, you can see that. If I round the end of that, then it should pivot in there. Now, if I get because right now that won't tip on there because that's touching. So it would need, it's touching, so it can't, that won't work. This has to go up more. So, well, let's just take this and roll it. Take these off. Boy, am I noisy sometimes. Okay. You know what? I think a bunch of U-bolts. I put a bunch of U-bolts in there because I can drill that U-bolt. That'll hold the axle to it. Okay, so if we go with the U-bolt around the axle, I can see if I can get one that'll fit the holes that are already there. And then 4 of them would probably do that. And if I get a long enough piece, or long enough U-bolt, if I can't get the right size U-bolt, this is easy enough to drill. So that would, that's going to be a trip to Canadian Tire. Because I'm not driving all the way to Princess Auto for 4 U-bolts. Or Home Hardware. Home Hardware's got a selection, I guess. I could go down. They're a little more expensive. They're only a few minutes away. And then I'd have to come up with some sort of spacer to get the axle down. And then the thing is, too, I'm not welding the axle to that. If I have to take it off, I can always take it off. But this will probably be the last home for that orange piece is on this bin. So, hell, I could even put a block of wood in there to hold the space. It'd still collapse enough. Like it gives you could take a 4x4 or something and drill it, and then cut it in half on the table saw, and then you'd have the cradle for it to sit in, and it would stay there until it was rotted. Right? Yeah, I think that'll work. I think that will work. So that will be a trip to the store. I guess I'm going to measure. So this axle, it'll also help me center the axle better. And I got to get enough clearance on that. And again, U-bolts are just U-bolts. If it doesn't want to pivot for me, then it's just a matter of undoing the U-bolts. If I weld something on, it's going to be permanent, and we don't really want that. I do have some pipe. I could cut the pipe in half and make spacers that way. So I would still have the cradle. But then that wouldn't be flat on the one side. Choices. Okay, so I need U-bolts that are 1 3/4 inches. Okay, everybody, I'm going to pause the video here. Like I said, in the first place, the video is going to take me days to shoot, but it's going to take days to shoot, but hopefully it's worth it. Hopefully you like my content. I don't know. I'm just an old guy trying to do things without spending a whole lot of money. Since they're out running about, I don't even have to close the shop up. I'm just going to leave it open, run to Washego. I'm going to get a drink first. I'm thirsty. Then I'll go to Washego, because that's the closest town, and see what I can get for 2 inch and 3/4, 2 inch at the most, U-bolts. Okay, I'll be back.